very special guest today, Mari Curteanu, and she has a new book, The Wisdom of a Willow Tree. And I read her book and I was riveted. Mari has really been through a lot in life. So I know a lot of my viewers have a lot of challenges and a lot of things come up, and you're kind of looking for guidance and mentorship and how to move through these challenges. And I don't think there's one challenge that you have not experienced. So would you mind just letting us know who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your book?
Oh, thank you so much. First of all, thank you, Lynn. It's a wonderful experience to meet you. And thank you for having me on your platform, on your channel. I really appreciate it. So yeah, about me. Well, I am originally from Romania. I was born and raised there. And then I got married and moved to Cyprus. I lived there for 22 years. And since 2015, I live in UK. I moved to London in 2015. So today here I am.
Okay. And so your young adulthood, you pretty much got married and moved to Cyprus, and then quickly had a son.
Yes.
And so why don't you tell us about that first part of your life? And like you were mentioning, it was all action. You make a decision, you take action, and so go ahead.
Yes. So it's like I was saying earlier, if I reflect back into my life, the main things that I can see over the years is the decision that I took, like the bold decision to marry young, straight after school when I was 18, and then move abroad. I had my son when I was 19. Then I realized some short time after that, my marriage was causing me a lot of pain. And 7 years later, I made a huge decision to get out of that energy, that space, that situation. It wasn't easy, it was very challenging. But yeah, once you make up your mind, things start to move around you, and you kind of also have that inner energy, inner power to move through it. Yes, and later on, I changed my careers, and then I moved to countries, geographically again. So yeah, it's been like a series of very bold and life-changing, I think I can say, decisions.
So basically, you would just set the intention out energetically. This is not a good marriage for me. I have to get out. I want to move to a different country. I want a new career. And when you set the intention and made the decision, then the universe orchestrated all the events that needed to happen so that you can manifest it. Is that kind of a recap?
Absolutely. That is it. I can quickly share something that happened when I decided to move countries. It was hard because that was a place where I lived for 22 years. I raised my son there. I had families, friends. It was like a lifetime there. And so I remember it was challenging to make the decision. And then I sat down with myself and I started to say, okay, what is it that holds you here? Why are you having a hard time making this decision? And I sat down with myself. I remember I took a pen and paper and I started to write whatever came to me. I didn't control it with my mind. It was my hand was writing. I was crying on the paper, and then by the end of it, I realized what mentally and energetically was holding me there. But then I felt, okay, that's it. I'm ready to do it. I want to move. So when I made my decision, I want to tell you that in a week, I sold everything, my cars and everything in my house. Everything happened in a week. In a week, everything was done. So that's why you just exactly what you said, that once you make up your decision, everything around you starts to arrange itself so that you can experience that. So it happened to me.
And now, was it scary to make these big changes? And how did you work through? I mean, I know being married, and in your book, he was like, you didn't have to work, he would take care of you, and you wanted to get out from under that. So how did you deal with the fear and the worry?
I can tell you that there is a time, I think there's a part in our lives when sometimes we get stuck in a situation and it can take us under. And I went through that. It's like when you feel like you're locked in a bubble glass and you just can't do anything about it. But that was, I remember that point was, it's an illusion really, because eventually you can do something about it, even if you feel stuck. And here is what I've learned in my own experience. When you don't have the courage to take a decision which is in the best interest of your soul journey, if I may, and the best interest of people around you, the universe is going to create some circumstances that is going to push you really hard to make that change. And sometimes there will be an external event that will happen, will have a huge impact. Sometimes it's very painful and scary. Yes. And that will ignite something inside of you, will shift something, and you'll be like, okay, that's it. I'm not having this anymore. And
if we talk about your marriage,
yes,
started to abuse you. And,
this is what happened.
And beat you. So you were trying to, this is okay. I'll be small. I'll be less. I'll just stay content. And then, the beatings. And so now you can't ignore it. And I'm really glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people don't understand the 3D personality body isn't in control. It's our higher spiritual self. And if we think we're just going to play it safe and, do that, that's not the point of being here. The point of being here is the spiritual growth. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And when you say, I love it when you said, playing it safe, it's actually staying small.
Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And there's not a lot of growth. Yeah, there's not a lot of growth. I mean, some people do spiritually grow, staying small and playing it safe, but for many people. So yeah, then you had this whole beginning part of your life where you were action oriented, set your intentions, connected with your higher self, and everything just magically unfolded. And then 2019 came. So I'll let you go.
So yeah, 2019 came. So I was in London at the time. I was running my fitness and wellness business in London, people, clients, sessions, webinars, everything that you can imagine that a fitness business has. And I felt strong. I was feeling strong. I was feeling okay. I was looking okay as well. And then all of a sudden I started to have some symptoms, physical symptoms. It started with migraines, and migraines is not something that I usually had. Rarely, especially us women, we tend to have this monthly and so on, but it wasn't my case. So it started to be repeated. Every month I would have this, and I went to the doctors. They sent me home with painkillers, and I had some episodes of serious projectile vomiting and very, very, very bad migraines. I mean, it was terrible. The worst experiences I had in my life in terms of health. I never had anything like it. So I knew there was something wrong with my body. When the doctors were giving me the medication and painkillers and said, go home, I wasn't just really, didn't sit with me, because I knew there was something else. Long story short, eventually it turned out there was a tumor. So I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2019. Oh
boy, and that's right before COVID.
It was right before COVID, actually. It was in October. And so I can tell you that because of the condition that I had at the time, I was very foggy. I can't remember much. My sister took me to the A&E for the third time that year. Long story short, yes, it's like you feel that, all the sand going through your fingers, like everything, that you thought was your life and everything you thought you had built for yourself is gone.
And I knew lesson, right? That don't get attached to too much, because it's here today, gone tomorrow.
Exactly. So yeah, that was a huge shock to the system, to myself, to my family, to everyone. But spiritually, it was incredible as well, because we all tend to build things, to accumulate things, like not necessarily things in terms of things, but You want to leave a legacy, you want to build a business, you want to create this, that. And then the universe comes and tells you, okay, hold on a minute, and then you realize that everything you thought you were, everything you thought you have to be, everything you thought you have to do is not so.
And I know we spoke, and your previous way of dealing with things and set out the intention, make a decision, take action. Were you able to apply that protocol to the brain tumor?
Yeah, that's the thing. So what happens is that, what I'd like to say is that throughout my life, when I've learned that whenever you decide something and you make up your mind, you can take action towards it and make things happen. And let me tell you, you can achieve a lot of things when you decide something, when something shifts in you, and the universe will help you. But there's also a time in my lesson now, there are also times in life where action doesn't do it. And in fact, you have to do nothing in order to move through that. It's like you're in a boat and you're paddling. And then at some point, you have to remove the pedals, put them in the boat, and just surrender, basically.
Surrender. So the recent part of your life has all been about surrendering and just being okay with what is. And do you want to tell us how did that make you feel uncomfortable because of all your action-oriented intentions? And then all of a sudden now you've got to be Buddha.
Well, it's funny you said that, because actually I did have a Buddha moment afterwards. You see, you picked it up. It was right there. So yes, it's very true that, we are all task oriented. We want to take action. We want to do things. We want to make things happen. But what I've learned is that things have to shift first inside of you before you shift things around you. You need a little bit of touch to shift things around you, because they actually shift for you, to be quite honest. That's what I've learned. And yes, at the beginning, when you find yourself, from a busy schedule, people around you, fitness, wellness, everything so busy, doing this, doing that, planning, and you suddenly find yourself on a hospital bed, ready to have brain surgery. And you're like, how in the world did this happen? I've got so many things to do. I don't have time for this, Guess what? Worrying about, oh my God, my sessions, my clients, my stuff, my work, all of that just vanishes like in thin air. And you realize that, of course, at that time, you start to feel uncomfortable, you start to blame, and which I did. The first thing is like, you don't want to accept it, you resist it, you push it away. Why is this happening? You may even have like a victim mentality, thoughts, you think, why me? Even though I never thought why me for some strange reason, I did blame others and I did blame myself. But eventually, after you go through that phase, you blame others, then you start to blame yourself. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I didn't, And then after you move to the next stage, you begin to realize that no matter how much you blame others, nothing is going to change. So you begin to learn to accept it. And when you start to accept it and let it be and go like, okay, it is what it is. I can't change it. What if I just go with the flow and then take your paddles, put them in the boat, and allow the boat to take you back or, towards, where you need to go with the flow. And yes, when I surrendered, everything shifted for me, because it took this inner awareness that, there's nothing I can do. I can just surrender. And my biggest decision was to take it one step at the time.
Yes.
I made myself a promise that I will just take it day by day as it comes. And yeah, was it easy? No, it was challenging, but that's what I've learned, that sometimes in order to make things happen, you have to do nothing.
And I like how you use the word allow. You just had to put the paddles in the boat and allow the healing, which was going to come from the doctors really, but you had to get on board with that. You couldn't be fighting. You couldn't have your energy like, oh, I want to deny this. And then you're going into surgery. So what was your Buddha moment?
The Buddha moment was, after I had 3 surgeries, by the way, within 12 months. So I was recovering. I remember I spent a lot of time in nature. Nature helped me a great deal every day, was it raining or sunny. Of course, physically, I was very weak, and but I was allowing my body just to, I literally, it was all about love. It was all about loving myself in a different way than I've ever loved it before, and loving my body, even though I was about loving and taking care of your body. That's what I was teaching people. This way around, it was in a totally different way. So one way to love myself and love my body and take care of myself was to allow myself to be in nature, around nature, and tune my own vibration with the vibration of nature, which helped me a lot. So I was under this tree and I was just sitting there meditating, if you want to call it meditating. I was just immersed in everything. In the forest, I could see the sun rays through the leaves, and it was so beautiful and green. And I just had this moment, and I just felt like one with everything. I can't say I was meditating really, but I just had this overwhelming, beautiful, loving energy that I was already healed. I was already worthy. I was already whole. It's like everything was telling me, you are already whole. And I was literally saying this, and tears were sliding down my cheeks. You are already whole. You are already healed. You are already worthy. You are already wonderful. All these things. And then it was just like a moment I never experienced before. And I say this because sometimes we think, and at the time I didn't have a job. I didn't have an income. I had zero money in my bank account. I had no idea what my life will be in the future. I had no plans, no clue. It was just me being. And yet I had this moment where I felt like I don't need to do anything. I don't need to struggle.
That's right. That's right. Just allow. And then after that, did everything fall into place?
Yes.
Just like when you were setting your intentions and things would fall into place, now you surrendered and allowed and everything fell into place.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes you need to surrender and allow for everything to fall into place. And if I can just quickly add this, because this is how I sometimes view it in my own mind, is like, through life, we receive messages from around us, because that's how our guides, that's how the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, that's how it speaks to us. But sometimes we're too blind, we're too focused on the goal, we're too focused on the doing, on the followers, on the business, on the clients, on this and that, and we forget about everything. We don't see anything else. So the messages are there, and you ignore it once, you ignore it twice, you ignore it 3 times, and then the universe comes and said, okay, listen, enough is enough. I'll take control now.
That's it.
And then this happens.
I mean, we do have free will to make decisions, but our higher self is totally in control, and they'll orchestrate very uncomfortable circumstances to get us to shift our energetic frequency. Yes. So now when you were sitting under that tree and had your Buddha moment, was that a willow tree?
It wasn't a willow tree.
Okay.
But I do, in that specific moment, was not a willow tree, but I do sit under a willow tree. I have even the other day, so I have a willow tree in the area. I always love willow trees.
And I mentioned that because the name of the book, and if you want to show it to the viewers, and yeah, it's called The Wisdom of a Willow Tree. And I'm going to confirm that it is riveting. And if you are a person in an abusive relationship, if you are a person who's looking to change your career, your geographic location, if you're a person with health challenges, Mari has been through it all and came out on top. And it is my absolute pleasure to have you here. So we will put a link in to the book and where to purchase it. But also you mentioned an article that's smaller. So,
yes. So the reason for that article is I wanted to raise awareness, because I have had these symptoms for a long time. And I had this condition and I had no clue. Anything could have happened. It was quite dangerous. I flew by myself. I took a plane, went back and forth. So I had no clue. So the reason I had this interview in a UK national paper, and I share there exactly the symptoms and what happened. So I think it could be really useful for people who may have migraines, headaches. It's worth it to have a read and just don't ignore any physical symptoms, especially if they repeat themselves. It's very important.
And we'll put a link into that article as well.
Amazing.
Well, thank you for meeting with me. I encourage everyone to get the book. It is very uplifting. And at the end of the day, we're all on a spiritual journey. Our higher self is in charge, and we will get obstacle after obstacle that, we can overcome no matter what. So it is my pleasure to meet you. And I think I definitely want to have you back on my channel too, because you are really an inspiration, like a motivational.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lynn. I truly appreciate it. And thanks everyone who is watching and is part of your platform.
And if you're interested, of course, click the like, subscribe, comment button, the notification bell, and have a really great week, everyone. And Mari, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.